I am trying to figure out how to make a... Okay, originally I wanted to make like an electronic smell thing. And the science that I figured out is that there is a bulb in the nose. It's called the olfactory bulb. Essentially, it's like this thing, I guess, like an onion looking thing in the nose, right? And there's also the trigeminal nerve, which is kind of around the nose. From what I understand, when these things are triggered by what you would call aromatic volatile chemicals, which, to simplify, volatile means like a gaseous, chemical is kind of like a refined substance, and aromatic is like a smelly thing. I'm not talking about like aromatics as in like chemistry aromatics. Basically what I mean is like, say you spray an essential oil in the air, or you get the smell of a steam from like a stew. It goes into your nose, and you have these sensors which turn the chemical, I believe, into electrical signals, right? So it's an electrochemical reaction, but ultimately it's from the chemical, which is a physical thing, to the electrical, which is the, the internal thing. The same way that you're looking at this or hearing me, your ears and your eyes are converting what you're hearing and seeing into electrical impulses, which is then processed by the brain so that you can sense it, right? Realistically, this is a physical thing. You're looking at a video of a physical thing. You're hearing, my voice, which is, an energy or something. I don't know, whatever. We'll get into that in another video. Point being is that it comes from physical things, and then it turns into an electrical signal. And the way I looked up videos, and pretty much they stuck electrodes into people's noses, like low, milliamp current electrodes, like really low power, and then they use pulsed DC, I think, pulse currents to stimulate the olfactory bulb. And there's also one that stimulates the trigeminal nerve. So that's kind of nasty. I don't really want to stick things up my nose and like touch delicate parts, Knowing me, I will use too much fucking electricity. As you can see, all these resistors here, we still haven't figured out the perfect amount, and fry something, and I don't really want to do that, and then I'll end up with like not being able to smell for a week, or technically taste and smell are like heavily related. Anyway, I had this idea to use a wireless electronic thing. It's kind of like if you've looked into brain-computer interfaces, there is the invasive form, which is they stick things into your brain, which no one really wants to do unless you're paralyzed. And, in that case, it's like, you'd be better to just wirelessly be hooked up to the internet than to suffer miserably. But otherwise, imagine like something you put on your head, like a what do you call it? EMR, EMF, EM something or other. Sure, encephalogram, I don't know, whatever. That weird cap thing they put on people's heads, and they have a bunch of receiving, what do you call them? Like receiving electrodes? I don't know. Things that basically gather or send signals, right? What if you just put one of those in your nose? Like a wireless pulsed DC. Actually, so what I think it would be is we actually have to use AC power, because the kind of alternating current allows for an electromagnetic field to, appear, while with DC you only really make magnetic fields. Antenna, just kind of put it around or stuff it up your nose, right? Couldn't that wirelessly stimulate it? Probably. And here's where things get kind of more complicated. I had the idea that what if you'd probably have to use a bunch of different ones, and they'd be set at different, currents and voltages, and set at different pulse rates. And then I thought it's probably easier if I just use my tongue first and try to make a digital taste, which is what this is, this and this. And I haven't figured out exactly how the electrode should be, because this is an open circuit. I don't know if it should be an open circuit or a closed circuit. Yeah, that's completely, I don't know about that one yet. I'm trying to figure it out right now, actually. And that's 25 ohms of resistance, which is too little. I'll have another video explaining the microcontroller, but essentially it can create 3 volts of electricity. You use 25, it zaps you, kind of. I don't know, maybe, because what I'm thinking is that it's like electrolyzing aluminium using my tongue as the salt bridge, my tongue and saliva, which is really not fun to be thinking about. So am I just tasting aluminium? Maybe, but it seems to do something so far. If I use 50 kilo ohms, 50,000 ohms, which is a 50k resistor, it's too weak. So I'm thinking 35 to 40 is probably right. And this is 3 volts, by the way. I can't tell you how many amps. I don't really know. Either way, I'm going to test out that new resistor. And also, if we to understand this, I hope it's not copyrighted. This is a tongue, and you can see basic tastes. Bitter is at the back, sweet is at the front, which is interesting because it's like you think the back is the root of the tongue. It's like the bitter area, the sweet, the tip is the sweet area. Don't they say that with a radish? Like the tip is, maybe the tip is spicy and the base, is the base sweet or is the base spicy? Or is spicy? I don't know, or bitter or whatever. Either way, it's all analogous, right? It's all relating. Some people say the back is salty and the back sides are salty, and this one has the front sides are salty. So we have the sides, the front side salty, the back side sour, the back bitter, the bottom as sweet, and assumably what is the middle? Assumably the middle is umami or savory. I should just sit here with salt and lemon and coffee and sugar and a bunch of things that are, representational of the flavors and try to figure it out on my own. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea. Point being, why I'm showing you this diagram is that this may not cut it. This is touching, like, I put it on the front, like the top and the bottom of the tongue. It's only touching, a little bit, or I can move it around. So I'm kind of targeting, I'm almost targeting like one area or one location. And what I had envisioned is it's like an array, like a chessboard. Imagine you have this chessboard of emitters, electrical antenna emitters on your tongue, where you've got all of the flavors mapped out, and you've got a whole tongue of locations, and it has all of the areas. Because again, you're going to have to use probably multiple overlapping, well, not overlapping, but different sensors all over the place to produce complicated tastes. The same way that one speaker is pretty good, but you know what's better? 2 speakers. You know what's better than that? A bass speaker and a tweeter. And the tweeter is high pitch. The bass speaker is low pitch. Of course, you can use this one, and it does work, but point being is that we may need to make this more complex. Essentially, if you want stereo quality HD taste. So I'm gonna go find another 10k resistor and a 5k resistor. Oh wait, I have them right here. And I'm gonna test if this doesn't electrocute me, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, here I have this set up. It is currently at 35k ohm resistance, 3 volts, if I understand that correctly. And it's pulsing 100 times a second. Let me put this on my tongue. Number 1, number 2. It's a little bit. I taste something. It's a little strong. It's like sour, almost sour and metallic. Tiny bit like sweet, almost. I don't know. I'm going to use 40k ohms of resistance. Alright, now we have 40k ohms of resistance. Let me put this on my tongue. Not so strong. That's alright. Now, I will touch the tip of my tongue and taste it. Interesting. I'll touch the front side, the salty region. I mean, if you made salt out of metal, it might taste that way. This is where I start to think, what if the same way that like time antenna was made out of all kinds of prime metals, what if we should use different types of metal? Best way I can describe it, and I don't know if I'm just fooling myself, is that maybe it feels more like I'm stimulating areas than I'm like eating food. is the best way to put it. As in, like I'm just stimulating my area that feels that thing. It's like a treadmill doesn't feel really like you're running. Or imagine if you electrically stimulated your legs to have the same feelings as if you're running. It's not the same thing as if you're running. Alright, the thing I probably should have tested out from the beginning. Here we are with the DC generator, and I'm going to turn the current down and the voltage down so I don't get, you know, fried too hard, because it's basically just licking a battery. I've connected them together, and now I'm going to put these in my mouth. Again, I'm sorry, I can only give you an audio while I do this. Alright, I put it on the fleet side. Not really getting anything. I'm going to turn the voltage up. I'll put up to like 2 volts. Oh, I'm getting electrocuted. Okay, yeah. 2 volts too much. 1 volt, not enough. I'll try 1.8, see if it's too much. I mean, if you just put it on the tip of the tongue, it's a little much. So 1.8 seems kind of good for these. So I've cut out a lot of recordings where I tested on other areas, like the salty areas, the sour areas, the bitter areas. Bitter areas kind of make you gag a lot. The recording quality just isn't very good, but just know that I did test out other areas. You don't need pulse DC. Why are these labs using it? I don't know. You can just use direct current. Works fine. 1.8 volts is around the sweet spot, I found. So pretty much you can use electricity to stimulate the mouth. Now, what about using it to stimulate the nose? I'm going to roll these up and stick them up my nose. See if I can do anything with them. Alright, here are my new electrodes. I rolled them. I didn't fold them. I rolled them to make them round. I'm going to go shove these up my nose and tell you what happens with the power on. And we're going to start off lower, a very low voltage. 0.6, nothing really happening. 0.8, 0.1. 1 volt, kind of. No, maybe I short-circuited things. I don't know. I'll do like 1.3. I'm kind of smelling something. And it's like, actually, it's just enhancing my sense of smell. It's not really like electronically producing smell though. Let me put it up to like 0.6, 1.6. Okay, that's just enhancing my sense of smell. I want to try to show you without like short-circuiting this, what it looks like, because it probably looks ridiculous. It's actually very therapeutic and peaceful. It's just like I can smell the inside of my nose. I was kind of like a little bit, you know, I'm coming off like a flu, right? So I'm coming off being sick, and I can smell like my internal systems is it smells like blood and mucus and not good things. So it's like I can smell the inside of my I don't know, my you know, my nose systems, right? My sinuses. I take them out and I can't smell very well anymore. So this is a smell enhancer. Now, mind you, I didn't shove these things right up to the olfactory bulb. Otherwise, the same way that if I touch these on my tongue, actually, I think I'll do that. I'll touch these because they're smaller now on my tongue and see what happens. The fact is, I didn't put them on my olfactory bulb. I put them in around it, where I assume maybe the pulsing could. I was thinking like we use AC or you know, to make a magnetic field, or maybe the pulsing could create an electromagnetic field. I really don't know. We're gonna have to figure this out to make the wireless thing. As I said previously, we need AC current to produce like wireless EMF effects. I don't want to put them straight on the olfactory bulbs. It hurts enough to stick these things up there. But yeah, it actually enhanced my ability to smell. So what I'm kind of getting from this is that electricity and these kind of electrical devices just can actually stimulate and enhance certain areas. What if I stick these things up my ears now? Let me try that out. See if I can improve my hearing or make it worse. And yeah, it's like making me focus on my ears and my hearing. And I put them around my eyes now, the under area of my eyes. Again, it focuses me in on my eyes. So really what I'm finding is that you can just make electrodes, electrify them, and just put put them on any place you want, and it'll just stimulate that area. Okay, so you can hear I'm currently 3D printing this thing, which is meant to be like a tongue plate electrode. You can see it on the bottom, the sweet, up the top is the bitter, down here is the sour, here is the, oh actually, now that I think about it, I should probably have positive, negative. Oh, I gotta reprint it, fuck. Here I have my circuit, and you can see, when I press each button, it's like a piano, but for light. How cool is that, right? Which pretty much means when I press the sweet one, it'll activate the sweet power, right? I guess it'll go out the ground area, and then it'll come back into the ground, and when I activate the salty, it'll be like that, yeah. So, just to test it out, that's what. Alright, so it's all printed out, as you can see there. And as I said, I needed a separator between, like, in the middle. Not sure if I'm going to print out I should probably print a new one, actually, just yeah. Okay, so here I've finished wiring it. Actually, I haven't finished wiring it, but I finished putting all the electrodes on. As you can see down the bottom, we have these two. Of course, we have these, the salty ones, sweet ones, umami. Apparently, umami or savory is in the middle, sour and bitter at the back. You can see I've got that one wide there, and then it's just a mess, slightly organized mess of cables, which I'm gonna like tape together. And then I'm going to connect all the negatives, because all the negatives can just go through one negative area. And the positives, I don't know, I'm going to use clips to connect it to the breadboard maybe. Otherwise, I could try to shove them, like solder them and shove them in the breadboard. I don't know, but it gave me a lot of interesting ideas on making a sensor, because really all I did was fold the foil, put a wire in the foil, tape the wire to the foil, and then fold it into these shapes you see, and I just kept folding it until I kind of got a vague shape, and then I hot glued the back and I put it on, and then I just, you know, hot glued the to the side so it doesn't come off too easily, right? Otherwise it's gonna like rip off and it's gonna be a nightmare. It makes me think a lot about sensors, and ultimately I think the like a height, like this is kind of what I'm thinking is, it's just like, you know, the first audio recording ever made, how it's crackly and terrible, and it was on like a ghetto vinyl, or the first black and white TV or whatever screen they probably made, or the first camera. This is kind of like the first one of those almost, where it's super low resolution and it's only going to be super simple. I think you're going to have to use this and a smell thinger to, like, because, you know, if you're eating something like a soup, it's like salty, maybe it's got like some bitter, or maybe it's got a little bit of sweet or a little bit of sour or something in it, right? And umami, a lot of that, right? But it's also, it has a smell of, like, you know, meat, like the fat. It's got like the spices, it's got like the vegetable smell. So it's got all these smells that and the flavors are actually probably like unique flavors, as in something like the flavor of orange or cinnamon, or like what is meat, cooked meat, right? All these things, these are probably unique things. So this is like a low level, like these are just basic flavor, modifiers, right? Or whatever, I don't know, values. And then you have the higher level ones, which is like this, what you smell, right? So it's like the fruit smells or flower smells or whatever kinds of smells, which then probably overlay and create complicated tastes. Because otherwise, how do you simulate like eating a steak or something with something like this? I mean, this is too primitive to do that, right? But it's a start. That's kind of what we're going to do. So I'm going to go wire this up. It's a little bit of a nightmare, and then show you how it looks. Okay, here we are. So firstly, we have all of the negatives wired up here, so you can see that, right? Might need to solder that. And we have sweet, salty, that one's sour. I've got them double-sided, so you can see I basically just labeled them. I just wanted to show you the board wired up. So there's absolutely no reason I have to use a microcontroller. It's just a power supplier. So it's basically just going from the microcontroller to the battery, battery to resistor to power cable to then eventually one of these sensors. All right, so here it is. The whole thing's wired up. The issue is it's going to short circuit because these are all touching each other. So I'm going to have to like tape the whole thing just temporarily or use some paper or something. Okay, we're all wired up. Anyway, I'm going to plug this in and hope that it works. Okay, there it is on top of that, and I'm going to put it in my mouth. No. Electrocuted me. Oh, that's not fun. Ow! Keeps zapping me. This is like day number 2 of testing. I've got my contraption. I think I gotta shorten this area. It makes me gag. Look. Oh, really? Oh, it works. It's just not very. It's not really doing much. What I have here is copper wire, and I thought, why not try it with a different kind of metal? 2 of these. Why not? I'm not gonna put that on my balls, no. Don't think that. It's 1.8 volts, it's fine. Oh, that kind of works better. Huh. The surface area isn't good enough. Here, I'll just make them smaller. It needs more surface area, meaning it needs to be bigger, like a bigger object. It's got a really bitter flavor to it, the copper does. And it's got this horrible bitter. Like, it does work. It's starting to make me wonder if different metals give off different flavors. To make a proper one of these, we need to have like a metal that relates to bitter, a metal that relates to sweet. You know, different metals. Maybe you could have like this copper is bitter. It's like bitter, sweet, and salty. I don't know what metal these clips are, but they'll work. Ooh. That's really sweet. That's sharp and sweet. Well, the sour one's really bitter. At least for now, we know that different metals produce different flavors, which means that if we build a flat plane with a bunch of little different types of metal, or ones that more so correspond to, you know, sweet, just say for the sweet area. So we put all the metals that are sweet on the sweet area. We put all the metals that are salty on the salty area. We put all the metals that are umami or savory kind of in the middle. All the metals that are sour here, and all the metals that are bitter here. Lead should be sweet. I'm putting it on the sweet area and it's more salty. Putting it in the salty area and it's just, I don't know, it kind of just tastes really bitter and horrible. It's so bad. We've got a lot more work to do, I guess. If this is going to be a real thing. I'm going to eat something to taste that. It's so bitter. I figure someone who cares more, has more funding than I maybe will take this and do something with it. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's going to be like 10 years in the future and we still don't have a taste, smell, and like very good tactile sensor, input-output sensor for a computer. That would suck. I don't want that to be the case, so, you know, I mean, if it's this easy for me to figure things out, shouldn't be that hard, right? whatever. Anyway, have a good day, and check the links in the description for social commercial stuff, and goodbye. I had this idea of, here we can see the primary, so the sensor of the primary zones. So here, of course, is the sweet zone, the salty zones, the umami zone, the bitter, and the sour. And you can see this one on the bottom, I tried something different. But the other ones, it's just, you have these squares, which assumably you'd have like positive, negative, positive, negative, like that, right? So you just have like all of these blocks of sensors, depending if you want to make them, open or closed or whatever circuit. But you'd have different metals, and of course you'd have different metals depending on, like maybe in the sweet section you'd have, I don't know, like iron and aluminum, and in the the bitter section you'd have something like lead, copper, right? They'd also have different voltages, so this needs to be a lower. I found that the tongue one needs to be lower voltage, while the back also needs to be lower. The sides can be higher, I think, and also the center is, I'm not actually sure. Sometimes it worked okay, sometimes it didn't. So things like, here, let me type voltage slash amperage, metal size also did things. Pulsing didn't really. Maybe AC could do something different, and depending on AC frequencies, that could have different effects. These are kind of my variables that I could think of. Also, potentially location, whether they're more to the left or right side, or up and down, or where they are, so that's another variable. But yeah, so that's kind of something that I would think, and it would be, we'd have a flexible material, flexible, so these would just be like thin sheets of metal, like foils, right? And the actual, the actual structure of this thing would be something flexible, like a flexible, non-digestible polymer, so it doesn't dissolve in your mouth. Just most plastics that aren't like toxic would work fine, or a silicone or something like that, something that's not conductive. But you could also, how they integrate like circuitry into certain plastics, that'd be something you want. So anyway, I just drew a quick diagram to show you, like, this is a square pattern of electrodes, and this is a circular, which is another idea. It doesn't have to be square, it could be in different shapes, whatever. But otherwise, that's kind of an idea for further ones. It would require more resources and testing, and high level technology like integration of plastics and all this kinds of stuff. But that's kind of where I see this. I think the word is actuator, though I don't think they really use that, or I use the word emitter. So anyway, hopefully it gives you some ideas on how this could work. Also, integration of different chemicals. So anything that's electrically conductive is going to work, which is why I use metals, but potentially there are hybrid, semi-metallic, semi-conductive materials that could be used. Anything that, again, you can get a current running going through. So anyway, I'll leave it with that.